Happy day friends, Jake here as your guide to all things indie. I actually think it's about time I compiled a list, an ultimate list of the very best indie games on planet Earth. Now, there is a catch. I am just one little old Jake. There are millions of games and I cannot be the one authority and pick the very best one. So, because this is a community driven channel, I'm going to need y'all's help. Let me show you what I mean. Hey y'all, real quick, I'm gonna interrupt. Because this is the first video, I go through what this format and process looks like. So if you wanted to skip right to the games, check out the timestamp here and you can skip all this stuff. Second, this video took so much more work than I anticipated, and I plan to make a lot more of them. So please, if you don't wanna miss them, consider subscribing and being a part of this community. It would mean a lot and it's gonna help this community grow as I build more of these videos. So thanks and enjoy the video. This is a structure I'm going to use for all of these videos. And yeah, there's going to be a bunch more of these videos. For today, I'm going to start with the action adventure. And I'm going to say this is part one because there's a ton of action adventure games. So that's the umbrella. And then there's smaller subgenres underneath action adventure. I did my very best to make sure that the categories make sense together, so a lot of these games might even overlap in some way. I'm trying to keep this theme cohesive. Yeah, this is where y'all are gonna come in. If you agree with my picks in each category, let me know in the comments. This is not only going to validate others while they are considering playing the games for themselves, this is also going to validate me and give me the warm fuzzies inside because I picked a game that you also like, and then we can become best friends and we can play all night together and it's gonna be awesome, and I'm so glad you're part of this community. Okay, so without any further ado, let's dig in with our action-adventure 2D Metroidvanias. Our GOAT for this pick is of course Hollow Knight. There is no surprise here. Everybody on their list has Hollow Knight somewhere in their top 10, and for good reason. You are actually going to find a common thread with the best games in the genre. They don't just succeed, they set the standard like I was saying earlier, and Hollow Knight is the standard for 2D Metroidvanias. Hollow Nest is equal parts beautiful and haunting. The hand-drawn world is a joy to get lost in, where every wrong turn feels intentional and every dead end feels like a promise to return to. The variety of biomes is incredible, each one packed with secrets and deep lore that slowly reveal itself the more you explore. That rhymed. The game never explains anything and trusts you to just figure it out. That's like my type of game. Enemies are diverse and memorable, each with their own attack patterns. Nothing feels reskinned either. You can tell the devs really took their time with every different enemy and their attack animations, and just, it's all unique. Combat is tight and responsive, and when you get hit, it's your fault, not the game's fault. That's a big one for me. Bosses, they're challenging, and even for veteran players, they still demand focus and mastery. Hollow Knight didn't just raise the bar for this genre, it became the bar. Now, for honorable mention, we are going to use Nine Souls here. Nine Souls absolutely rides the coattails of Hollow Knight, and honestly, that's not a bad thing at all. In some ways, I actually enjoy the combat more than Hollow Knight. Actually, in a lot of ways, I enjoy the combat more. It's faster, it's sharper, it's more aggressive, and it really rewards precision with its parry system. You parry everything in this game, and when you get it just right, it is so satisfying. The hand-drawn world is absolutely beautiful, packed with this environmental storytelling and lore to uncover. Unlike Hollow Knight though, the story here is much more forward and accessible, which I think honestly lands somewhat better for a lot more players. You're not having to rely on hidden lore channels or secrets that you uncover with random little items that you may or may not find. Where Nine Souls truly shines, in my opinion, is its boss fights. These battles are intense, they are demanding, and they are incredibly memorable. And as the game goes on a tone level, it's actually quite a bit darker than I expected. Thematically and emotionally, it just really sticks with you. Nine Souls is fantastic, I cannot recommend it enough. Okay, for my haven't played yet, this one is ooh. Oh, it's a puzzle platformer where you play as a little caterpillar who has bombs for a butt. And yes, that is exactly as ridiculous as it sounds. You detach and detonate those butt bombs in increasingly intricate ways to navigate these colorful pixel art rooms. I don't know if I can say butt bombs online, but I just said it twice now. Mechanically, it looks clever and charming and extremely satisfying when everything clicks. That being said, this is very much a puzzle-first experience, and that is where my hesitation comes in. I worry about getting bored over time, and I've never been someone who exactly loves solving puzzles for hours on end. I like big hammer, big smash, big weapon, fight things. Puzzles usually aren't my cup of tea, but the art looks amazing and the music seems good, and I don't know. Do I give this one a shot? Still, it's weird, it's creative, and it's clearly doing its own thing, which is why it's on my radar. Oh boy, okay, this is where the heat is gonna start to come in. My hot take for 2D Metroidvanias is Ori and the Blind Forest. Now, before you click off, let me explain why. I've tried to play Ori and the Blind Forest a couple of times now, and I know the common response is, yeah, but the second game is better. I believe that, but this one just has never clicked with me. The movement just has always felt a little too floaty for me, and that disconnects me from the character in a way that's, I don't know, it's hard to ignore. And while I know combat isn't the main focus here, it still feels more tacked on than truly integrated into the experience. At least at the beginning game. I don't know, maybe as you get farther that gets better, but I just can't seem to get past that. And I think because combat never really grabbed me, the moment-to-moment gameplay just didn't hold my attention. And for me, that's kind of just a deal breaker. If I'm just looking for the next like really cool moment, the in-between has to be important. So I love a good story, but it has to be backed by awesome gameplay. And that for me is where Ori and the Blind Forest lost me. Okay, let's move on to roguelikes. This is arguably one of my favorite categories of all time, of all indie games ever. My GOAT is once again not a surprise at all for this category. It's The Binding of Isaac. And I know that there's a ton of different like DLCs and versions of Binding of Isaac. My recommendation is The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. It's like the core experience, but all the extras on top of it with way more enemies and rooms and secrets and items, all the things. Binding of Isaac is the king of roguelikes purely because of the sheer volume of content and how all that content works together. There are well over 700 items to find, and almost every single one of them can drastically change how a run plays out. The item synergies still surprise me to this day. I still find surprises and combos that I did not think were possible. You can seriously break this game in a million different ways, and somehow it always feels intentional. Even though I know Ed McMillan has talked about it not. They fully broke this game in so many different ways, and they just kind of went, okay, sure, why not? You could easily sink 300 plus hours into this game and never have the same experience twice. And once you start, you never really stop. Just one more run takes on a whole new meaning with this game. The tone is weird and gross and kind of uncomfortable in a way that stays perfectly consistent throughout every single run. On top of all that, the community around Isaac is crazy. There are tons of incredible mods that keep expanding the experience. This isn't just a great roguelike, this is the blueprint for roguelikes, which is why it's in that GOAT spot. Now, in case you haven't figured out yet where my, border is from, you're about to find out right now, because Enter the Gungeon is my honorable mention. So where The Binding of Isaac really does rely heavily on that RNG, Enter the Gungeon is a get good game. Your skill absolutely matters, which is why it is quite possibly my favorite indie game of all time. There is a ridiculous number of weapons to find and unlock, and many of those guns synergize with each other and with items in ways that completely change how they behave. No two runs feel the same here, and the success always feels earned. On top of that, There are tons of secrets. There's characters to unlock, there's a wide variety of enemies and levels to push through, and the subtle D&D flavor sprinkled throughout the game is a very nice touch. I'm a huge D&D nerd, so I love seeing the enemies that are inspired by classic D&D. Enter the Gungeon is tough, and it's fair, and it's endlessly rewarding. Exactly what a skill-based roguelike should be, and why it is my honorable mention. Now, for my haven't played yet. Y'all remember Gradius 3 on Super Nintendo? Star of Providence kind of feels like that, but dialed all the way up. Honestly, it kind of looks like this bullet hell from hell. You're confined to this tiny little space with more going on the screen than I can possibly keep track of, and yet somehow I love it and I want to play it really bad. It kind of reminds me of why I can't put down tiny rogues, which we'll get to in a second. The variety of weapons here and ships and enemies has me curious, and the music and visuals look top notch. Okay, so if you didn't click off from Ori being my hot take, Don't Starve is my hot take for this one. Now, and I know this one is a bit divisive for two reasons. One, the game is clearly beloved by so many people. And two, its status as a roguelike here is actually a lot more debated than I thought. Personally, I'd classify it more in the like survival roguelike. I don't know, I mean, they're not like run so much as, I don't know, like a full survival experience. That's not what I'm here to argue anyway. I first tried Don't Starve back when Don't Starve Together didn't even exist, when it was just Don't Starve, and I just found it boring. I gave it another shot with a friend when the multiplayer came out, so I did play it when Don't Starve Together came out, and I just found it boring. The crafting and the survival loop never really hooked me, and the combat didn't do anything to change that. I mean, I've seen trailers and gameplay and stuff, and I definitely don't think it's a bad game. It just hasn't been for me so far. Okie dokie. Last category here. The bullet hells / heavens. So for you that don't know, bullet hells was the original, and then the bullet heaven came out, where instead of a ton of bullets coming at you, you are the one creating a ton of bullets going out to enemies. That's the heaven part. So I felt like I had to kind of combine these two together, because you can't really talk about bullet heavens without the bullet hells first, in my opinion. My GOAT for this one is actually Vampire Survivors, which I know is the bullet heaven version of a bullet hell, but let me explain why. Vampire Survivors is my GOAT because it was the game, at least within the mainstream populace, that created an entire new genre of bullet hells, making bullet heavens even a thing. What seems at first like such an easy and simple game turns into an obsession that sucks away your desire to play any other game in your entire library. This game is a vampire, and you will be more than happy to become its thrall. No doubt the devs named it Vampire Survivors because let's see if you can survive after dealing with Vampire Survivors. Also, at such an incredibly low price point, there's no reason not to pick it up and get lost in the endless swarms, the weapon synergies, the unlockable characters, and the crazy amount of secrets to find. Just when you think you have gotten to the last unlock, you're going to do something wacky and wild, and it's going to unlock a whole new path of things. It just keeps on rolling. Okay, now for my honorable mention, I'm going with Tiny Rogues here. Tiny Rogues is a classic example of why you never should judge a game by its Steam cover. The simplistic pixel art, limited color palette, and constricting levels are all part of what makes Tiny Rogues absolutely incredible. If you are a gamer that loves getting crunchy with endless character builds and possibilities, then this game is absolutely for you. If you are a gamer that wants to swing big sword and hit evil bad monster on head, this game is absolutely for you. If you are a human that breathes air and likes to play video games that were made by passionate and caring game devs, this game is for you. It's honestly just a game that you can lose hundreds of hours in. if not thousands of hours, trying out all the different weapons and unlocking all the different playable characters, and honestly breaking the game with just the most crazy power-ups and weapons and synergies. This game is just absolutely fantastic, and I cannot recommend it enough. All right, my haven't played yet. At the time of writing this script, I will be totally honest, Vital Shell was on my radar and I hadn't played it yet. If you have seen my indie gem of January, which if you haven't, you should check it out. There's gonna be a link up here, but wait till the end of this video. Don't click away yet. That's not true. I've played it and I absolutely love it. The game is freaking amazing. Vital Shell is if Vampire Survivors was reskinned as an Armored Core spinoff that came out during the golden days of the PS1. Vital Shell is more than just an auto battler, though. You also have control over a dash and a special weapon ability and manual aiming. The game doesn't budge an inch on straying away from true classic retro PS1 vibes, and it is all the better for it. The gameplay is immensely satisfying. The music absolutely rocks, and I would say Vital Shell is exactly what these types of genres are meant for. They push things farther. They're not just a copycat. They try new things. They set new standards. Vital Shell is just awesome, y'all. Go out and play it. Okay, now, my hot take is actually a more recent one, and it's Ball Pit. Ball Pit, unfortunately, just didn't hit the mark with me like it did for everybody else. I played a little over 10 hours, and I don't know, I never really got hooked. There'll be a handful of runs that tap into that dopamine centers in my brain, but I don't know, nothing actually sinks balls deep in. The base building and farming sort of mechanic just really fell flat for me as well. I don't know, I think it's clever, it's unique, but it just doesn't really seem to fit the pacing of the game. I just found it more tedious than I did fun. You know, I don't know, I might pick it up again here and there, give it a couple of runs, but I certainly was not swimming in the ball pit with everyone else that fell in love with it when it first came out. Well, folks, there you have it. Part 1 of the action-adventure indie ultimate game guide is complete. Make sure you subscribe because we are going to have a lot of these videos come out over this year. And as new games come out and start to replace those, I will update. I'll make sure I make new lists and we'll keep a good database of just the ultimate indie game guide. That's the whole point of this. So I'm so happy you're here. Please make sure you comment below the agrees and the disagrees. Remember to do it kindly and just share with me your favorite indie games in the categories. I'm also going to be making sure I'm making posts in the community spot of YouTube where I'll be letting you know what that next category can be. So y'all can even start putting comments in ahead of time for games that I should check out or look at. You know, maybe one of the games you recommend gets put in that haven't played yet category and we can look at it together. So thank you again for liking and subscribing to my channel. I'm so happy you're here. Make sure you check me out on Twitch where I stream every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. CST. I hope to see you there and I will catch you for the next one. Love you, bye. Beep, boop, boop, doo, 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 boop, boop, boop.